Have an interesting topic today. Somebody requested this via my email, and I decided that I will share about this. So we were talking about dependency and work and self-expression, and you know that on this channel I often advocate for more traditional dynamics, for polarity, for men taking pride in being masculine and women taking pride in being feminine. And I love when women are able to stay home and take care of their children. It's always is a beautiful thing when a mother can raise her own child, especially in the West. Things went so far away from this, right? Um, we have sometimes the opposite, and we have the results of neglect. But every medal, so to speak, have the other side of it. Every medal, every circumstance, everything in life have the other side. And today I want to talk about the other side of um, actually staying home, but in this case not be able to work. There is a situation where certain men, especially in certain cultures, do not allow women to work. And that is a completely different circumstance. And I just want you to understand the difference between men allowing, offering a woman to stay home, to raise children, to take care of the house, to give your love and affection to a child, versus a situation where you are forced to stay home, and or you are forced, you're not allowed into outer world, you're not allowed to have a voice, you're not allowed to get recognized, to get paid, to express yourself as a person, as a professional. I see it, there is a very there is a very fine line very often between the good intent and ill intent. There is a very fine line between loving and controlling, or caring and controlling. And I think in this case, it's more of a control that is wrapped into a beautiful into a beautiful material, shiny material of caring. It often happens actually in Muslim culture, even in post-USSR. There are republics that were and still are Muslim. They are more traditional, more patriarchal, but also in Eastern European countries. There was a thing where a husband would just put his foot down and say, you are not going to work, you are not allowed. And I think the danger of it is that you are becoming again like a child. You are becoming like a child that also will be an unprepared child. Shall things not go as um, you were expecting to, you are completely and utterly dependent from a man, from a husband, which I think in general it's a beautiful thing when you have somebody you can rely on. But it can feel like a trap, like a room with no oxygen, like a room in a house that's slowly losing all oxygen. And usually that is driven by extreme control, and it is um, I observed it, I've seen it, and I even witnessed some of that. And I think it's very devastating when people cover control and the desire to possess a woman in this case as care, as love, as protection. I think it strips you of your basic right of self-expression, and a lot of women who agree to just follow blindly. The men who really take advantage, even if financially you are completely dependent, you can never do anything for yourself that is not in a budget. I think especially in this modern world, that is really does feel like financial control or some kind of financial family slavery, because the only time where you cannot buy yourself an extra pair of clothes, like an extra pair of I don't know, socks or clothes, or just simple things like that, is when you're a child. You have to ask your parents for a permission, and it's almost like you become a child again um, in your 20s when you get married, for example, or 30s, or whatever has happened. And I think it's a very very uncomfortable position when you have to ask, and you're not allowed to just be an adult, a grown person. I understand the difference with very strong Muslim cultures, where they enforce certain things. It's really not for everyone. I think that it's truly is a mental trap as well, because as a woman, as a human being, all human beings need to be able to self-express, and you also need to have a way of relating and validating. When we have outlets, we have our friends, we have some hobbies. And if you are the kind of woman that you want to self-express yourself, maybe you are just not allowed. Some in some families, sometimes men say, oh, you cannot use social media at all, or you cannot use certain platforms. People who are focused on controlling you from others just seeing you, we are not talking about anything inappropriate. This is a major sign of this really weird type of extreme narcissism, where you want the person to belong to you in every way possible. You want this person to be dependent on you, and you want to make sure that this person never gets a validation or recognition by anybody else. And I think that is a major pain point, when it's like you're ostracized from maybe even your closest people. You're not allowed. You The man you're with basically tells you that you have no trust, uh, even though you have never done anything wrong. You were not ever spotted doing anything wrong, but they don't trust you. And when your circle is so narrow, and let's say you're a mother, you have children, you have home, but you're also a human being. Maybe you want to have a hobby, or you want to have some of your own money that you don't need to report for. Maybe you have hobbies, or maybe you want to help your family, you want to do something. You're a human being, right? And you are not allowed. It's so dangerous from every corner, because we have a natural uh, desire to be seen, recognized, and validated. It's a normal thing in general. And if you only have that coming from your man, from your husband, very often it's not going to go very well, because we need more people to feel seen, to have feedback, to have connection with, and to have some sort of validation. Today, for example, especially if you are in a controlling relationship, and it was in a relationship with a person that you learn later not maybe ideal, and they can be cold. You know how very often people in your family don't notice any of your talents, any of your gifts, may consider you not very bright. If you ever try to open any kind of endeavor, any kind of business, or just anything. You post a photo somewhere, and your children, your husband, your sister, I don't know, people in general, very often your closest people going to be the harshest critics. Very often they're gonna shoot you down, because they feel like they know you and who you are, like how, what makes you an expert, what makes you, how that you have a voice. Through these years, even having the very small platforms that I have, but once in a while I would receive comments and messages from ladies and telling me, how is it you're not afraid to even put your face on the camera, or voice your opinion. Some of the ladies that I met were so talented, and they sometimes they tell me, if I would make a video, my children gonna laugh at me, my husband gonna laugh at me. So if I ever do social media, or any kind of influence, any kind of expertise, I will have to do it incognito. I would have to have a faceless channel or faceless Instagram page, or it has to be faceless, because the moment I do it, I'm gonna be laughed at. And the problem when the validation comes, one second, guys. The problem when validation comes just from one person, it's it's a very, very it's extremely limited, it's extremely limited circle. Let's say if you solely rely emotionally as a woman on your husband that comes from work, he's tired, he doesn't want to talk, he's good thing if you are really close. And even then, it can be overbearing, because as women we have more words to say, we are usually more emotional, and we have 9,000 more words to say than men. That's how we are. We don't need to be shamed for it. It's just we are made differently. We meant to feel more. We meant to express our things, our emotions, ourselves in a different way. We were not meant ever to be the same. And so when it's just one person you run by, it's exhausting for both. It's very toxic on a relationship. And sometimes even if you have more, let's say you have a bigger family or children, all of close family and even close friends, they all also have bias. They see us in a certain way. Like, for example, you have this certain preconceived notion. You may not want to see your mother, for example, given a lesson on something, because you only see her as making, gonna be very primitive example, but you just want to see her, making your meals. And you worry how she cleaned today, whatever domestic labor she done. But sometimes we need a little bit more to feel better about ourselves. So there is this emotional side, emotional, mental part that we need to be recognized sometimes, and depending on a person, by different people. Sometimes we have certain passions. For example, if I like old Hollywood uh, fashion, and I was a man who couldn't be further from it, I know that um, well, he probably will be bored. He probably wouldn't be interested. He might like one or two of my outfits, but if I will try to give him on a history ride about old Hollywood, that actually I'm in fact in fact is one of my favorite things, he probably will be like, oh gosh, stop. It's the same as, for example, you have a family member who is obsessed with UFC or any kind of fighting, and maybe you have a son or husband or brother that obsessed about UFC fighting, and every time they open their mouths, they tell you about it. At some point you start to go insane. That's why we need to be heard and seen, especially if we do have something to say. We should have that option. Not every person wants it, not every person needs it, but we definitely should have the option of self-expression. So that is a mental, emotional part, right? Self-actualization, self-expression, being seen, being recognized, and not have only one source of validation that usually will be irritated with you. People who live together, people who are very close, sometimes think that they have bad relationship simply because they too much with each other, or they are the only person they have. When you're coming so close to someone, sometimes you cannot just see things clearly, because you need a little bit of a distance to see it. You need a little bit of a perspective to see it. That's why it's nice to be able to give that distance. Welcome, Dave. Good to see you. I don't know if you're still here. Welcome, George Allen. Hello. You very subtle styling and interesting themes. Thank you. I appreciate that, George. Hello, Miss Greenbean. Hello. Bullet Bar says, "What if the man is wealthy?" Very good question. I'm gonna answer it. Thank you for the question. So I said in the title that if the man does not allow, I don't I would never say that, women I'm always actually stand for women have relaxing life, soft life, being able to relax more, being more in a creative way, not have to jump through the hoops and be responsible for bills and neglect your family for business. So for those who are new, I'm just sharing, that's not the beliefs. But when you are not allowed, and if we talk about strictly financial perspective, you know that sometimes if your husband is dissatisfied with you, not every country have laws who protecting you. And sometimes even you're financially dependent deeply on your husband, and it's the only way you are. It may sound like care, but sometimes you will find yourself in a trap. You may find yourself that maybe your husband have a lifelong affair on the side. I know in some Muslim countries you officially can have several wives, and for some people that's a good option, but not for everybody. And sometimes I know a lot of these cases when a woman knows, she even knows that her husband have a lifelong affair, maybe several affairs, and she's just tired. That's not what she was hoping that would be. But not in every country the law is protecting you. I know a lot of times, for example, in Eastern Europe, where I'm from, a lot of times man spoils you, he wines and dines you, he gives you expensive gifts. How many times it would be a story, or I would even know somebody in person where the man is like, you know what, you are not what I wanted. You are not the one I thought you were. Men get disappointed, whether it's valid reason or not, it doesn't matter. And he literally cut all those expensive clothes, cut the bags, or just takes it away, and you have no rights. You have nothing. You have nothing to turn to. Financially, you are trapped. You have choice. Either you stay in if it's an abusive relationship, physically or emotionally, and you feel all the pressure. Maybe you're just unhappy, maybe there is no abuse, but you're just unhappy. Either you stay and you obey, or you go like you came. I knew somebody who literally was thrown out of the door in her underwear because she was told that that's how I taken you, this is how I'm giving you way back, this is how I am leaving you. So I think that every person deserves to have an option to build something of their own. On the other hand, I know someone who was actually married to a multi-millionaire and working a social, kind of like a social work, just because they loved it. They loved the children, they loved the community, and they wanted to be of use. They wanted to do something. And unfortunately, that story didn't end very well, and the ability of them, that they had those skills, they had a circle of people. Yes, they didn't have a large salary or some huge savings, but they had enough to take care of themselves. You know, you don't always know the outcome of God forbid, like divorce is the worst thing in life you can go through at times, but sometimes there is no choice. And one of the worst things is to have to go to the court and fight and spend years of life missing out of life. I often feel that in certain cases it's better to remove yourself from a situation, especially when somebody knowingly put you, when somebody knowingly put you in that situation, made you dependent, made you, put you in those conditions. You know, life is so unpredictable. I know a lot of women that live happily, never work, don't have to work. But when somebody is actually removing that option, telling you that you cannot do that, that is very weird to begin with, because why would you force that? If you're a natural provider, if you're a natural protector kind of man, why would you ever force that? You don't need to force things. If the woman has a choice of, if she's relying on the law, on your protection, on all these good things, she has a right. But anytime somebody is telling you that this part is not allowed and forbidden, this is just something to pay attention to, because a person that is confident, a person that is secure, they never gonna try to limit you and to hide you from the world and to be jealous of you. There is no reason for that, at all. And it's just something that I've seen. I'm originally from Eastern Europe, for those who don't know me. So I've seen situations when, and I see them still, where women were so happy in that they were able to stay with their children, but unlike in United States, since the laws do not work in Eastern Europe, they were soon to learn that they have no protections, no guarantee, and also they did the best. They spent their years with their children because they have nothing else built, no business, no career, no skills. Uh, if they were to leave, they have no to go to. They have physically, they are in a trap. They are absolutely trapped. So um, I think that it is important to understand that life sometimes can have unpredictable scenarios, and just in general, a loving person would never try to put restrictions on you, would never try to control you. A lot of times, unfortunately, men cover care with control, and it's such a sign of insecurity, and it creates so much unnecessary pain. But for some women it sounds very attractive. It's like, oh, he loves me so much, he wouldn't even allow me to work. And this is weird, because when somebody loves you so much, they want you to have choice. They don't count on you if you were open to your own endeavor, your own business. They don't count on you to support them, to pay for them, to even contribute. They just want you to find satisfaction. They have trust. A person that is afraid that they going to lose you just because you want to leave a house and have a little bit of social life, that is a major insecurity, and I want everyone to pay attention to it. Because I received this one comment on my channel saying that, Veronica, you have to be careful, you're giving a dangerous advice to women to completely rely on men. And I've literally never once meant that. I never suggested that, but I think it kind of came out as that. And I just want to make it very clear that it's important to be able to be self-reliant in this realistic world. Of course, maybe if you're a wife of the Arabian sheikh, maybe you're in a better shape, but I don't know, because there are stories of women running away from multi-million, if not multi-billion dollar family because there was abuse. I think there was one story last year, I believe. Of course, there are some extreme stories and extreme moments, but I just think that a truly loving person, would never try to put restrictions on you and be worried and be jealous. This is such a crazy sign. I think one must love in such a way that the other person feels free. We all have our insecurities, we all have our moments, but we also have time to reflect and think before we say something, and analyze whether this is fair. As long as I like the best, more traditional dynamic, I love men who taking pride in being masculine and protecting, leading, providing, guiding. But everything has the opposite side, and some people decide that they are God. Some men, in this case, when they feel like they have all this power, it's very tempting for somebody. When you have power over someone, uh, such extreme power over someone, it's very tempting to not use it. And it tells a lot about a person. If they have power over you, even if it's a little situation, you don't need to look no further. If you have someone, friend, but especially a man who has power, maybe there is a singular situation where he has power over you. It can be any other family member or friend. The way they behave, that is exactly who they truly are. Exactly who they truly are. I had situations in my life, and I had this well, it was courting, not a relationship where you are very close, or getting married or living. But I had this one experience one time with a man that was courting me, and he was pretending to be so pretending, because he was not an authentic person, and I could always feel it. I don't know, I could always feel it. I could not go further with this relationship, because I could always feel that this person was not authentic. They just playing a role. And this one time I had about 2 ounces of dependency on them. There was something that I needed from them to do, something very little for them, not significant, but I still needed them to do it. Like, for example, let's say it's a document, for example, sign a document, or get a document, or something like that, something that is not really require finance, but something that is I needed from them. And in that moment I saw their true face, because I happened not be able to be available for a moment, and they assume that I am purposely not responding. And I got this long message about how I should figure it out on my own, and how, good luck to me. And it was just one moment. I was not depending on this particular person in any way, at all. But that was answer to me why I felt so uncomfortable. My whole body would be, rejecting this future, or considering a future with this person. It's just because somewhere unconsciously I felt that I cannot trust. And if this person has 1 ounce or 2 ounces of power over me, they're going to use it and try to manipulate and abuse. A man who's truly masculine, that's the last thing on his mind. He never worries about controlling. Control is not something that is, he's very secure. And also, once he gets to know the woman he is with, he's not trying to look at her social media, and because he knows he knows. And this is how the best relationships build in life. Sometimes you have this knowing and you trust it, and some of it obviously based on a person that opens up to you, you observe them in all the situations, and just naturally you build this bond, you build this connection. Because if you have to check, if you have to look, if you don't have a relationship, it's just a facade. So, man, I can talk a lot. Welcome everybody. I don't know how much time I have. I'm looking forward in about, I think, in the near future, I don't want to say exact date, in the near future I will have a lot more comfortable conditions to do my lives. Yeah, so we're all about men being men and women being women, but you know, there is nothing wrong with us being human and have human rights. I also think when we have more people and some of a community, we have way to express ourselves. We're taking it easier on people at home, you know, because when you only person you express yourself to is your husband, your wife, your child, sometimes it's a little too much, because we becoming everything for each other at all times, you know, therapists, mentors, you know, lawyers, I don't know, nurses. Like sometimes it's okay to have more people, because we can share beautiful things and experiences together. It doesn't have to be so limited. And if you feel control over the other person, you really need to look at yourself. If you honestly genuinely feel, it just means that you have to, we all have it. I have it sometimes too. I have sometimes, you know, the moment of insecurity, and then it's just a moment. When you have a moment, it's okay, because we are human being. We were meant to have different moments. 1 second, my dear friends. 1 second. Once. Yeah, it's okay to have growth moments when you grow, when you realize, okay, my insecurity has nothing to do with this person. I you may have some experiences in the past, you may have some wounds, you may just have to spend some time with yourself and realize, okay, you know, I I have to deal with this, and you can find your way dealing with it. But when this is an ongoing theme, that is different. Thank you so much for the comments. Hey Lance, welcome, welcome, welcome. Man, I don't know, I need a moment. If you guys can stay for a moment, I need to check one thing over here. So I'm gonna switch off camera for a moment. Yes, feel free to write a comment or a question. I'm gonna read those. Just 1 second. One second. Okay. Welcome back. Yeah, I won't be able to stay for too much longer, but for those who really, thank you guys for those kind words, for those who really watching my videos and listening to the streams. We're going to continue, and hopefully the quality will improve. I really surely hope so. And I will have more possibility and opportunity doing the lives and the videos in about a month. Yeah, Lance, good to see you. Thank you. I'm glad to see you. Thank you for the kind words. I also have seen control go both ways. Yeah, control, women can be very controlling too, but today we're talking about men, and particularly financial control. I've seen it so much when the marriage uh outlived itself. There is no future, there is misery, but women can't live because they trusted or they believe that they gave up the right of building anything, creating anything, and they just have nowhere to go. And you know, in America, you can go to court and, you know, go through all this, which is also a horrible thing when you have to go through all of this. But you're just trapped. You're just like a you're not even a person. You don't even have a life. You know, I honestly have couple of ladies who has been writing me, and that's why I just want to share it. You know, you find yourself, some of the ladies who wrote me, they finding themselves in the mid 30s, early 40s, realizing they raised the children, they did all these things, but things are not going well in the marriage. There is no perspective for things to go better, and they have literally nowhere to go, and they haven't built anything for them. Like, they're absolutely trapped. And again, these ladies are from Eastern Europe. Good luck going to the court and trying to get even basic support. It's you will need a very big luck, you know. And of course, we always hope that it will never come to this. But I don't believe that people can be happy in a relationship that is controlled. Whether it's man or woman controlling, you can never be happy in a relationship that is controlled. Sometimes when you are in a relationship with a new person, you have to give it a moment, because sometimes people controlling, or appears that they're controlling because they are extremely afraid to lose you. You know, sometimes there are moments of insecurity, moments of doubt. It's normal when you just getting to know somebody, and maybe you feel like finally you meet this person, and you know, you have this what they call anxious attachment, and so on. Just one second, guys. Yeah, you may have this um anxious attachment style where you are where you are needing help. You know, you may not be able to overcome these things on your own, because you have some things from the past. Sorry guys, we have some movements here. um but that is a this is a whole different conversations. People sometimes suddenly uh shows their traumas, their pains, their um their insecurities that they never knew they had, because they just open up in that particular relationship. It all happens, it all can take place, all of it is alive. But this is different when somebody plans, somebody has this kind of over evil nature where they want to own you, they want to manipulate you, they want to hurt you, they want you to be a slave. It's a completely different dynamic when people are like that. You know, it's a completely different dynamic when people doing this consciously, they know what they're doing, they planned it all. It's a completely different. Just, I'm not ever talking about being unforgiving, because all of us you know, we are human beings, and sometimes we need a moment to recognize the issues, you know, and we don't come perfect. But I want you to discern people who are planning to manipulate, to hurt and abuse, and people that just trying to figure it out, that never been in this relationship. And sometimes when you're in the most beautiful relationship, you will sabotage it the most. All right, I need one moment, my dear friends, and I'll be right with you. All right, my dear friends. All right, my dear friends, we're going to be wrapping up. We have to go. We have some things over here. I'm going to quickly answer this question. So do you recommend that both have careers when they get married, so no one is in control? And no, that's not what I recommend. I don't know if you must be new to my channel. That's not what I recommend. You can have career and still be controlling. um what I am talking about, if when somebody tells you that you are going to be completely and utterly dependent on them, that is just something to consider. It's you don't have to have a career, by the way. I stand strongly that you can have very feminine ways to make money that are not stressful, that are at your convenience. You can have your online any kind of business, product, service. You can uh, teach, you can, there are a million of things that you can do. But I do recommend that you have your own personality and know that you are not completely and utterly dependent. So it's not necessarily I'm gonna have career because I don't trust you. I am just suggesting that if the person tells you a bunch of controlling things, bunch of things that could strip you out of your rights and freedoms, and especially if you live in a society when you have no guarantees, you should be concerned. And this is just not normal. You may not choose ever work, you may choose not to ever work a day in your life, but maybe you know how to do certain things. Maybe you can learn some skills. Maybe you could have your husband help you open like a small little business, or go to school for something you love. Basically, you always hope that things will be beautiful and getting more beautiful every year. But in case something is going on, and in case you're a person that needs a way of self-express, instead of actually driving your husband crazy and your kids crazy, like, again, let's say you love retro fashion, and your husband could care less about retro fashion, and so is your kids. But you have something, you have message for this world, you have a hobby, you have some way of whatever it is, whatever skill it is, you should be able to be your own person. And if you are not, that's a major issue. We'll talk about this topic again. Thank you everybody for joining. I have to get to my Uber duties. Well, not literally an Uber, but I gotta get to my I got to get on the road. Thank you so much for joining, everybody, and thank you for the kind words. um I was love bombed by my second wife, I assume, and found her exuding control over the family in so many ways. Yeah, it happens, it happens. But you know what? You probably didn't financially depend on her. When you financially completely depend on somebody, and you have no guarantees. In some countries you can be completely financially dependent on a man, and you have laws that protect you, like even family. In some Muslim countries you have whole levels of protection, so you never want anything bad to happen. But I still think, even with that, if you have that need for self-expression, you should do it, because sometimes you can literally get cancer for not being able to express what is that you have. Yes, my dear friends, thank you. If you didn't have a chance to express yourself, write a comment below. I talk to you very soon, and we can go into depths of things. You know that I like going deep. Thank you, David. I'm glad you're here. Thanks, Super Talk. Sorry, I was busy with my hands, so I couldn't comment. Well, I'm glad you were able to listen. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you, guys. We'll see you very soon. Yeah, share your thoughts. Let me know how it was in your family. Some of the women were lucky and blessed to have a man to focus completely on the family, and it went in the most beautiful way. But it's not a story for everyone, so I think it's important to have that discernment. So we'll see you very soon, my dear friends. Thank you.